Morning, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us for another NC Strong update. These updates give me a chance to lift up positive stories about the good work that the people of North Carolina are doing to make this a great state. Today we're going to focus on the economy. North Carolina has been winning more jobs and more economic opportunity for our people. In July, we ranked as the top state for business in the entire country. That's for the third time in the last 4 years. We're the third fastest growing state in the country by population. Businesses and people across this country see that we've got a good thing going here in North Carolina, and they want to be part of it. Since the 1st of January, we have announced more than 33,000 jobs for North Carolina. 33,000 jobs represents the most ever recruited to North Carolina in a single year, and we still have a month to go. So I want to repeat that. I want to underscore it. 2025 is now North Carolina's best ever year for job recruitment in the history of this state. We've made particular progress in aerospace, biotech, advanced manufacturing, electric vehicle sectors. And the announcements have been spread across the state. 16,000 jobs in the Triad, 8,000 jobs in the greater Charlotte area, 4,000 jobs in the Triangle, and more than 1,000 jobs in the East, more than 1,000 jobs in the Sandhills, and more than 1,000 jobs in Western North Carolina. Accomplishing this milestone has required hard work from a lot of different people, and there is plenty of credit to go around. I want to thank Secretary Lee Lilly of the Department of Commerce and Economic Development of North Carolina, the EDPNC, Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, CEO Chris Chung, who are joining us today. I want to thank the General Assembly, and I want to thank a host of other state, local, and private partners who have each played an instrumental role in this success. We cannot, however, rest on our laurels. Other states want what we have. We've got to keep expanding opportunity. We've got to spread it to every corner of the state so that if you work hard, where you come from never limits how far you can go. That is the promise of North Carolina, and delivering on that promise is what drives my administration. As we keep bringing jobs to North Carolina, we have to be laser focused on ensuring that those opportunities are going to every corner of the state. I am proud that we have brought approximately 5,000 jobs to rural North Carolina and about $12.5 billion in investment. These new jobs help sustain rural towns and shore up local economies. And we aren't just bringing jobs, we're working to support entire communities. The Rural Infrastructure Authority has awarded 51 grants and more than $26 million to energize rural economies. Especially in Western North Carolina, small businesses are the beating heart of their communities. But 86% of impacted businesses from Hurricane Helene are still earning at or below the pre-storm levels. We have to keep supporting their recovery. The Small Business Infrastructure Grant Program has enabled local governments to rebuild their downtowns so that locals and tourists can return to those downtown businesses. Whether it's restoring sidewalks or building sewer systems, these grants help small businesses reopen their doors and serve their customers. Across the state, we've awarded nearly $250 million in broadband grants to get people connected to jobs and services. And Commerce's Main Street program has supported smart economic development and historic preservation in small towns across the state. We will not rest in our work to spread opportunity statewide, and in particular, to rebuild Western North Carolina following Hurricane Helene. At this point, I'll bring forward Lee Lilly, the Secretary of Commerce, to talk more about the great work happening at the department. Secretary Lilly.
Well, thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lee Lilly, the North Carolina Secretary of Commerce. And the CNBC ranking the governor mentioned, naming North Carolina as America's top state for business, continues to draw welcome attention for our state. People recognize that we have a world-class workforce, a solid economy, and that we are attracting more business to the state, which in turn draws interest from other companies, and fuels our momentum. North Carolina's top rankings and our consistency in those top rankings are no accident. They are the result of strong collaboration with Governor Josh Stein, the North Carolina General Assembly, our economic development partners across the state, like Chris Chung and his team at EDP&C, and importantly, the regional and local economic developers whose community-based economic development makes this work possible every day. Companies that we work with often remark upon the high level of collaboration they experience when working with the state of North Carolina at every level. Companies don't see this kind of collaboration in every state, and it's a vital reason for our success. Economic development projects are complex and require cooperative support that transcends county lines and political affiliation to persuade a company that our state can meet their needs and create great jobs. Checking our egos, solving problems, and focusing on jobs, not who gets credit. That's the North Carolina way. As the governor mentioned, 2025 is already a record-breaking year for North Carolina economic development, with $23 billion in capital investment and 33,000 great-paying jobs announced in this calendar year. From urban centers to rural communities like the one that I'm from, we're focused on the people, the places, and the partnerships that create real prosperity. In June, we announced that Jet Zero will create more than 14,500 jobs and invest $4 billion in Guilford County at Piedmont Triad International Airport. This is the largest single job project we have ever announced in the state of North Carolina. In Rowan County, J-Bill, an engineering and manufacturing company, will create 2,000 jobs with a $500 million investment in that community. Just last month, the governor and I announced that Scout Motors will locate its corporate headquarters in Charlotte, bringing 1,200 high-paying jobs. Prolec GE Waukesha is creating 330 jobs in Wayne County. And in Benson, just last month, Vulcan Elements announced it will establish the largest magnet factory in the world outside of China, creating 1,000 jobs and investing nearly $1 billion. While they support our economy, they're also supporting our national security with that investment. These are just a few examples of why 2025 has been an exceptional growth year across dynamic industry sectors and in every corner of the state. So what's next? To keep our momentum going, we recommit to expand infrastructure across the state that supports economic development, support growth of innovation, startups, and small businesses, continue to drive workforce and economic development alignment, and recruit great businesses, bringing great jobs to every corner of the state. Throughout this, we have continued to make it a top priority to help our neighbors and friends in Western North Carolina recover from Hurricane Helene, build back stronger, and we won't stop until that mission is complete. Governor, there's more work to do, but I'm pleased to report it's been a great year for economic development. I appreciate your leadership as the recruiter-in-chief for the state of North Carolina. Thank you.
Thanks, Secretary Lilly. There is a lot of work that goes into helping companies decide to choose North Carolina. So today we wanted to do something a little bit different and provide a sort of behind-the-curtain perspective on how a company makes this choice. What is it about North Carolina that is so attractive? And I want to thank Kendra Blevins from GE Aerospace for being here as we spotlight the state's great partnership with this company. Last week, GE Aerospace announced that it would be expanding its site in West Jefferson and Ashe County, creating 44 new jobs and investing $53 million in that county. The facility will produce some of the most critical parts used in an airplane engine, their narrow-body CFM LEAP engines specifically. And as with every new job announcement, the news represents months of work by the Department of Commerce, by the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, and many, many other state and local partners. GE Aerospace has a long history of operating, growing, and investing in the state. The company currently employs about 2,000 employees at 4 separate locations across North Carolina, and notably 20% of GE Aerospace's employees are veterans. In March, the company announced plans to invest $101 million in their facilities in Wilmington, Asheville, Durham, and West Jefferson. When our delegation attended the Paris Air Show in June, I was with both of these gentlemen, I met with company executives from GE Aerospace, and I thanked them for their recent announcement. I asked how we could continue to strengthen the partnership that is strong between the company and the state, and I encouraged them to choose North Carolina for their next phase of investment. Then Commerce and EDPNC went to work. EDPNC has been working with the company on potential expansion in West Jefferson facility for a long while, and in late June, EDPNC presented information to Commerce so that the state could produce an investment proposal to GE Aerospace. In July, Commerce offered GE Aerospace a proposal that included several elements, including a One North Carolina incentive. With 1NC incentives, companies receive no money up front. Instead, they have to meet job creation and capital investment targets to earn that investment. That's incentive. A local match by the county is also required. Commerce's proposal also included partnering with our community college system to support customized training efforts through the NC Edge program. And GE Aerospace has since applied for Commerce's RIA Building Reuse Program, which we have previously highlighted or will be highlighting, to expand its existing facility in West Jefferson. Each of these items were independent pieces that we brought to the negotiating table. And you may think that because we have such a strong, stable, long-standing relationship with GE Aerospace that the proposal was a done deal. And we wish it were that simple. An international, a global company like GE Aerospace could choose to invest its scarce capital at any of its facilities anywhere in the world or start an entirely new facility somewhere else. But no, they chose North Carolina. Our unique value proposition won the day. Here are some of the ways the North Carolinians are benefiting from the company's investment. The announcement doubles down on our commitment to expanding economic opportunity to every corner of the state, and that includes rural North Carolina, like in Ashe County. These are good jobs with good wages. The average wage for this expansion will be higher than the county average wage. Next, it solidifies our state's reputation in two critical industries, aerospace and advanced manufacturing. We already have the largest manufacturing workforce in the Southeast. And with the recent investments by Jet Zero, HondaJet, HAECO, RTX, and more, we are creating the hub for the future of aerospace. We know we are the first in flight. North Carolina is also the future of flight. Finally, GE Aerospace's announcement also provides opportunities for new workers to learn important skills in lean manufacturing. Many of these jobs don't require a 4-year college degree, and a person should not have to get a bachelor's degree in order to get a good job that pays a good wage that supports a family. Because if you work hard, where you come from should never limit how far you can go. That's the promise of North Carolina, and we are working to deliver on that promise every day. I'll now turn it over to Chris Chung, CEO of Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, to provide a little more detail on how the GE Aerospace relationship with North Carolina became strengthened. And then we'll hear from Kendra Blevins, who is a site training leader at the company, about how Wilkes Community College is partnering with GE Aerospace on customized training programs that will strengthen the workforce. Chris, and then Kendra.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving and all charged up for the last 28 and a half days of 2025. Let's finish strong. Again, I'm Christopher Chung. I serve as CEO of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. It's a bit of a mouthful, so EDPNC will work just fine. For more than a decade now, the EDPNC has been proud to serve as the public-private nonprofit that's helping lead the state's efforts in business recruitment, the support of existing industry, helping North Carolina companies to export all around the world, helping counsel small business startup owners, as well as, of course, promoting our beautiful state and all its natural assets for tourism and travel visitation. We do all of those things with one mission in mind, and that's to improve the economic well-being and quality of life for the now 11 million people who call this state home. And we're proud to do that every day, hand in hand with the governor, with Secretary Lilly, with the General Assembly, and with all of the people who make up Team North Carolina in this economic development approach that you heard the governor talk about. Think of us as a sales and marketing arm. Our product is North Carolina, and we get to tell that story every day to companies and visitors and people from all around the world. And GE Aerospace is a great example of one of those situations. Now, why GE Aerospace? GE Aerospace, as you heard, there's a few different through lines that are really important about this particular investment that GE has committed to in North Carolina. As you heard the governor say, this is occurring not just in a rural part of North Carolina, which is a key to us making sure that every economic development opportunity goes as far and wide across the state as possible, but it's also happening in western North Carolina, a region that all of us are focused on supporting the recovery of as we continue to bounce back from the events a year ago. It also is a great validation, as you'll hear from Kendra, about the world-class workforce that North Carolina boasts for companies who are here today and the companies that we hope will come here in the future. And then, of course, as you heard the governor mention, this is part of a targeted industry approach. One of the things that EDPNC does on behalf of the state is try to figure out which strategic industries make the most sense for us to go after, whether that's recruiting companies or whether that's supporting companies who are choosing to expand here. We want these industries to be ones that are high growth, that produce the kinds of jobs that have wages above our county average and above the state average. And of course, we want these jobs to be available in all parts of North Carolina. And GE Aerospace is a great example of just that kind of situation. Aerospace is one of those tentpole sectors for us in North Carolina. It's been a long-standing part of our economic development strategy in North Carolina because it produces those great jobs, because aerospace touches every corner of North Carolina. It's a very, very important industry. It's part of the reason we attend some of these industry events like the Paris Air Show that both the Secretary and Governor led the delegation for this past June. It's a key industry that North Carolina, I'm from Ohio, so the first in flight thing, it's taken me 11 years of living here to finally acknowledge, I guess we are first in flight in North Carolina, but we're the future of flight, more importantly, and it's important for us to go out there and aggressively tell that story to companies all around the world in this industry. So why GE Aerospace? GE Aerospace is a great example of, in economic development, we talk about business recruitment. That gets a lot of attention, a lot of visibility, and it really is a great moment when we can attract a new company like Jet Zero to set up shop in North Carolina. But GE Aerospace is a great story of how it is equally important for us to take care of the growth needs of companies who are already here today. As you heard, GE Aerospace operates multiple operations across North Carolina, employing thousands of people in well-paying jobs in every corner of our state. We absolutely need to make sure that we are removing barriers to growth for companies like GE so that they continue to invest and create jobs for North Carolinians. We have a team at the EDPNC that's working at the direction of the Commerce Department every day to go out there and sit across the table from companies who are here in North Carolina today to understand what are your pain points, what are your growth barriers, what are the things that are holding you back from growing further in North Carolina, and then how can we collectively as Team North Carolina remove those barriers, take down those hurdles, and enable you as companies to keep employing more and more of our people. And that's exactly what happened here with GE Aerospace. It's no more complicated than that. We've stayed in touch with GE Aerospace at all of their different locations, trying to understand what are the things that we can solve for them, and then what are the expansion opportunities that they are considering in the future that North Carolina might compete for. It's very, very important for us to keep these kinds of relationships with major employers like GE because guess what? Anytime we're going to be attracting a new company to locate here in North Carolina, the very testimonials we want them to hear from are the companies who are doing business here already today. And if we've done a great job of taking care of GE and all the other companies that are expanding here in the state, all that's going to do is strengthen our hand when we're trying to persuade yet another new company to come invest and create jobs in our state. And that's what makes GE Aerospace such a great success story beyond the jobs, beyond the investment. It's the validation of a long-standing relationship that this state has had. I remember attending their ribbon cutting 10 years ago in West Jefferson for another expansion at that time, introducing their cutting-edge technology at that point. We're 10 years later. That is a lifetime in the global aerospace industry. And the kinds of technologies and manufacturing methods that GE is doing today with this latest expansion, They would not be making this investment if they did not have the utmost confidence in the people who work there, in the workforce and education systems who produce the skills and training that these employees need. And you're going to hear that from Kendra. So all of this makes for a really great story, and it's just another feather in the cap for Team North Carolina as we get ready to wrap up a fantastic 2025 and look forward to, I hope, an even better 2026. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kendra Blevins, Site Training Lead for GE Aerospace. Thank you very much.
And good morning, and thank you, Governor Stein and the team, for having me here today. It's an honor to be here. North Carolina is building what the world needs: skilled people, smart partnership, and a resilient economy. Our competitive edge isn't just an accident. It's the result of the state that invests in talent, embraces innovation, and creates an environment where industry and education work hand in hand to deliver results for businesses and communities. North Carolina's strength starts with the people. From our community colleges to our universities, we have a statewide system to design to meet the employers where they are and to move at the speed of industry. In the rural area of West Jefferson, North Carolina, this model closes the distance between talent and opportunity, delivering high-quality training locally so families can build great careers without leaving their communities. GE Aerospace's long-standing partnership with Wilkes Community College, specifically the Ash campus, is a powerful example. Today, we are delivering customized training, workforce training for our employees through the NC Edge program. This training is aligned to real roles, such as inspector and CNC machinist. A flexible model that ramps with demand, supporting new product introduction, rate increases, and technology adaptation. Strengthening safety, quality, delivery, and costs. This means that employees can upskill in areas like advanced manufacturing, building a real career path. What sets North Carolina apart is the flexibility. With Wilkes Community College, we've been able to co-develop a program that targets the competencies that our business needs today, whether that is precision manufacturing, metrology, machining, safety, or problem solving through lean fundamentals. For rural North Carolina, it means training aligned to real plant needs so that we can grow capability where we operate and keep more wins in our community. Wilkes Community College brings a nimble curriculum design, experienced instructors, and modern labs. GE Aerospace brings the real-world application, performance standards, and clear outcomes. The result? A training model that improves quality and shortens the time from classroom to contribution. North Carolina's workforce engine isn't just producing certificates, it's producing outcomes. Customized training, like NC Edge, helps us to onboard faster, reduce the rework, and strengthen our first-time yield. It gives team members a clear pathway to grow their careers, which boosts retention and engagement. And it helps us to meet our customer demands. For GE Aerospace, this partnership means that we can scale capabilities as our programs grow, helping us sustain a high rate of operations. And it is especially powerful in rural areas like West Jefferson, where strong industry and education partnerships turn proximity into opportunity, bringing good jobs, skills, and durable growth close to home. The economic development that works for everyone. This helps employees gain in-demand skills and better paying jobs. Employers gain a reliable, high-quality talent pipeline, and communities gain durable growth built on education, work, and a sense of pride. When businesses' needs evolve, our training evolves with them. That's our North Carolina edge. The examples North Carolina has produced proves that when industry and education partners with purpose, we don't just fill jobs, we build future. So thank you to Wilkes Community College for being an outstanding partner over the last decade, and to the leaders across the state who continue to invest in people first. Let us keep raising the bar together. I'll turn it back over to Governor Stein.
At this point, we'll take questions, initial questions. Let's just have it be on this topic, and then if there are other questions, we can. Reginald, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. Head of the Rural Economic Development Division at the Department of Commerce, Reginald Spate. So questions on today's topic, and then we can let these guys go if there are questions beyond the topic. and feel free to address to any of the speakers. Yes.
It's a great question, and that's a partnership we have with the EDP&C, who houses the Visit NC travel and tourism program. So, Chris, if you have anything to add, of course. The campaign, Rediscover the Unforgettable, which is an ad campaign that was financed in part by the General Assembly and run by Visit NC, I think has been very successful. We've seen significant return, particularly over the latter part of this year, of visitors and tourists to Western North Carolina. It's not evenly distributed, and that's part of our mission, is to make sure that visitors and tourists know which places are open and ready for them. Most places are, and we've really tried hard to encourage people to do that. Look at Asheville and hotel numbers. They've done pretty good in recovering there. We hope another year of this campaign will help bring us back to where we were and even beyond where we were. Chris, anything to add on that?
Yeah, we won't have 2025 tourism data till a couple of months into the new year. As you hopefully know, 2024 was a record year for visitor spending. The governor and secretary announced that back in, I think, in April or May. We're optimistic. I mean, right now, of course, people are travel has come back a long way since the pandemic days. North Carolina is a great destination situated where we are here on the East Coast, so it's a very great drive time destination for a lot of the eastern third of the country. We have beautiful natural amenities, so we're optimistic it'll be a great year. We won't know what that data looks like until a couple months into 26.
This is probably either for Lee or for Chris, and I hope I'm not simplifying this, and correct me if I'm wrong. So the transition from textiles and tobacco and furniture, it seems like that the Greensboro area did not bounce, goes in another direction until maybe in the last several years. They seem to, their boats have risen as well. What do you attribute that to? Is it because of the focus on aerospace and electric batteries, or is it the transportation links there? I know I've seen FedEx Hub has been there for a long time as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Triad's got great bones to start with from an economic development standpoint. They're really great communities to live in. They have excellent education between UNC Greensboro, NCA&T State University, Winston-Salem State University, a whole host of others, Wake Forest, of course. And they've got people who have been committed to that community for a long time. But I remember in Governor Cooper's administration, a lot of leaders from the Triad came to the administration, came to Commerce, came to EDP&C and said, we need to do more. We need to get more support from the state, but we also need to think about how we do more. So they worked really hard to build investments around, in particular, sites and workforce development, two real key parts of this. So the development, for example, of the Randolph County megasite, which was a community-wide initiative to make that a really viable spot for what is now the Toyota battery project, 5,100 jobs and a $14 billion investment. That came from the ground up. That came from the community deciding, if we're really going to transition out of this space, we've got to put our cards on the table and then get the help from the state. Same thing that has happened at Piedmont Triad International Airport, where they've looked at that space and thought about how that airport could be really competitive and developed the property around it in conjunction with the workforce programs at North Carolina A&T and at the community college, so that we would be ready to recruit a Boom Aerospace, a Jet Zero, a HACO, Marshall Aerospace. That's been part of that equation. But yeah, the answer here is it came from the community first and then from the state, our operations at Commerce and EDP&C, and importantly from the General Assembly following up on that investment.
Yeah, I'll just add in here, as the Secretary mentioned, the Triad, 5-6 years ago was looking at a lot of these big economic development wins happening in places like the Triangle and Charlotte, and a lot of those were office-centric economic development wins. Think of major corporate headquarters moving here or major technology operations. The Triad was actually well positioned for, one, a downturn in office economic development deals post-COVID with remote work and hybrid work. I don't know if you all noticed, but there weren't a whole lot of big office announcements up until this year. I think that's been one of the bright spots and through lines of 2025 is office deals are coming back, as noted by the governor and secretary announcing deals like Scout Motors or Daimler Truck Financial Services. These are a couple of the big office project announcements in 2025. Triad well positioned, as the secretary said, for a lot of the industrial activity that we saw, especially coming out of the COVID as some of these sectors really started taking off. So it just speaks to the economic diversity of North Carolina and this very diverse product that we get to take out there all around the world.
Yes. I'll take it first, Lee, and then ask you to supplement. The most critical asset that we have when we're out there talking about and selling North Carolina is our people. We have tremendous workforce. We have tremendous K-12, community college, and university. This is why I continually urge the General Assembly and every other major player, we've got to stay on our toes. Other states want what we have here in North Carolina, and they are making big investments in K-12 and what they pay their teachers, making major investments in their universities and community college. So we cannot just rest on our laurels. We have to stay aggressive. I have put together a council on workforce and apprenticeships, which Secretary Lilly is co-chairing along with the Community College President Jeff Cox and Senator Eddie Settle. And they're doing two things. One is, what are the goals that we want to establish to ensure that we can meet the needs of industry going forward? And two, how do we get there? What are our strategies? What do we need? So we will be working with the General Assembly as these folks come up with their recommendations, because it is imperative that we continue to invest in our people so that people have every opportunity to succeed, to get a good job. Or if they want to start a small business, start a small business. But if they want a good manufacturing job, that they can do that, and they can do it where they live, that they don't have to move far from their home, from their community, in order to get that kind of job.
Briefly, I'll plug, you're referencing the North Carolina Labor and Economic Analysis Division at Commerce, LEAD as we call it. They do a LEAD feed. It's a great source for plain language, plain English, economic data and information about the state. So if you're interested in those things, check out the LEAD feed. Governor mentioned all these things. Yes, we've got a graying workforce, whether it's in advanced manufacturing or skilled trades or agriculture. But I'd rather be us than almost any other state. And the reason why is our growth, third fastest growing. That in-migration is largely younger people, and those younger people need to go to work. And also because if you look at our labor force participation, we actually have some room to grow. If we can go out and find people, usually young people, but sometimes mid-career people, and get them into a training program, that's a lot of what we're doing on the Council on Workforce Apprenticeships is how do we identify that population of people, get them into training programs like Kendra talked about with Wilkes Community College, and put them on the pathway to a great job. That's our mission, that's our goal. We want to align that to find those folks. We've also got more than 20,000 separating veterans every year in the state of North Carolina. It's a great population of people to go find and bring into our workforce and restore some of the retirements that we're seeing. But I'd rather be us than anybody else.
Will?
Governor, we're obviously competing with plenty of other states for these jobs. Can you explain, how you go about deciding which companies to pursue, which to not, and what kind of accountability there is when something doesn't pan out?
Yeah. The important thing in economic development, it's like basketball. You want to take good shots, and you want to take more shots than your opposition. You want to take more shots and make more shots. If you take more shots and make them, you will win. And so we want every deal to be a slam dunk. That's not how it is. You can get a few slam dunks. That's great. But a lot of times you're shooting a mid-distance jumper. You're shooting a three-pointer. The percentages drop a little bit. So we need to do a little bit of everything. Go for those easy ones that we know we can succeed with, but also reach and take a little risk. The key thing is when we do incentive packages, it's as I said earlier, the state doesn't outlay money to the companies unless the companies meet their goals, their investment goals and their job goals. If they don't, then they don't get the incentive. Sometimes we will make investment in infrastructure to improve a site, which the state owns or the county owns. The community college owns, so that if for whatever reason it doesn't work out with that one company, that asset remains an attractive inducement to the next company to come down the pike. Yes.
At this point, almost a year in office, how would you describe as the
The state is growing. The state is strong and growing, and we're excited about it. What we want to do is make sure that we do not relent. We do not let up. We keep on our toes. We keep aggressive because it's about delivering opportunity for people. That's why we exist. That's why everyone on this stage is here, is because we want more people to have better opportunities. And I'm excited about what we're doing. North Carolina is strong and growing.
Over the last few years, EVs and green economy seem to really guide a lot of the major job announcements. Over the past 12 months, macro factors, it seems like that has decreased. So for the jobs projects, we're thinking a lot of battery projects that were announced 22, 23. Is there anything that the state can do to help them maybe gap this period or come to fruition? And how do you see green energy and EVs guiding jobs projects going forward?
I'm still bullish on electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, hybrid cars. Clearly, the market has dipped a little bit. The demand isn't quite as high as what initial expectations were. There's a great deal of hostility out of the federal government, which makes it a less attractive place for companies to invest. But look, we were just in Charlotte 2 weeks ago announcing Scout Motors' 1,200 job facility location headquarters that they're going to put in downtown Charlotte. And so, and we were the same day in Randolph County when the first hybrid battery from Toyota went off the line to go into a car being manufactured somewhere else. So it is happening, and it will continue to happen. It just may not be happening at the same speed that we thought 2 years ago. Right.
I had a follow-up for Secretary on the film, specifically on film grants in the other part of the state. We saw about 3 months ago, 31 million set aside for a number of projects. There was kind of that debate over how you distribute that money when one of them was the Beast Games season 2. We requested records. I'm just curious, is there any update or any information you can share on what went into that process and just for smaller film producers that didn't get the grant?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is I think our film industry, which essentially died after 2016 and the bathroom bill, has made an amazing comeback here, again, mostly on the strength of our workforce. We've got a great workforce, both in Wilmington and outside of the Charlotte area, and then creative people who want to create really great films, great TV shows. And so we've seen a lot of growth come back in the film industry. We've still got more work to do because it's such a competitive market, not just in the United States, but all around the world, to attract these programs to be filmed in North Carolina. They do generate a tremendous amount of economic activity. That's why the General Assembly created the program and tasked the department in conjunction with EDP&C with identifying those productions to help support. And we do support large productions like Beast Games in Pitt County, which is a rare place for us to see a film happening, or in this case, a television show happening. But we support a lot of smaller independent productions as well that are being filmed in North Carolina, if you look at the suite of projects that are supported. So we're pretty happy with where the program is. We know it could grow more. We know that there's a lot of competition, and we're going to be working with the General Assembly and others to think about how we compete for more film production in North Carolina.
I will say that Anna was watching The Runabouts. Is that the name of the show? And I saw the last episode. It was awesome. Great North Carolina production. Any other questions on this topic? Yes.
Just real quick, kind of building on Will's question about the incentives and the cost. Looking at the numbers the state puts out, it's kind of the amount of total awards announced far eclipses the amount given. Yes, many projects are still active that could be dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any kind of just behind the scenes in terms of the budget? Is it a no harm, no foul kind of mindset for the state that we're giving this money with protections? We'd love it to work. It's a bit of a PR hit if it doesn't, but there's really no cost? Or is money being held? Is there sort of any financial cost to inevitably getting many not coming to fruition?
Yeah, I'll let Lee also answer this question. No, I think this is an area where we want to do as much as we can and be as aggressive as we can, as long as we have belief in the company. Obviously, we underwrite these companies before we engage in these extensive negotiations and partnership. But at the end of the day, if a deal doesn't come through, the only cost is the opportunity cost. we could have been working with another company and maybe putting that site up for another company. And that is something we think about. But you don't score if you don't shoot. And so we shoot. And we just try to make as many of those shots as we can.
Data centers have been nationally. What is sort of the recruitment approach with those, and what is sort of the thought about how they fit into the broader kind of infrastructure of everything now versus kind of protecting consumers?
It is an issue. Another council I have recently formed is the Council on Energy Policy, and that is specifically one of the topics they're looking at. The data centers suck up an incredible amount of energy, and energy costs are too high as they are. They're rising. The Duke Energy has just asked for a double-digit rate increase at the Utilities Commission, something that I hope is severely scrutinized and shrunk because it's too expensive as it is, electricity. So we have to take a hard look as a state about what is the impact of these data centers on energy demand, and is this the right way that we want to deploy a limited resource? We do not have infinite energy, and so we will be having more insight into that question on a going forward basis.
Sure. The short version is, just to be clear, data centers, unlike these other projects that we've talked about today, are rarely the recipients of discretionary economic development incentives. So our largest discretionary incentive, the JDIG program, which supports things like Jet Zero or Toyota, those are not typically offered on a data center project for a variety of different reasons. They do qualify for other incentives, and in particular may qualify for local economic development incentives, and particularly around property tax abatement. And that's the decision of a local county, and I think that's why you've seen different local jurisdictions approach data centers in different ways. I'd say thus far the answer on data centers in North Carolina has really been left to a local decision and a decision about whether or not power is available. So you've seen some communities like in Richmond County with AWS, where they saw that as a really beneficial thing for the county to do, that it's a $10 billion project, create a lot of opportunity for a rural county in North Carolina. Other counties have taken different approaches, and I think that's the way it will continue to operate for some time, in conjunction with the larger policy question about how much power do we have, where do we prioritize the use of that power, and who's paying ultimately when you have a large project that's going to consume a lot of power.
Anything else on economic development? All right, well, I can do a couple questions on other topics, but I will relieve you all of this. Thanks for everything, Kendra, appreciate you. Yeah, right.
Governor, it's obviously the candidate filing period is underway right now.
I have not filed yet.
Yeah, give it a couple of years. But we've seen some contested Democratic primaries. You know, past governors have weighed in on contested Democratic primaries. Are you going to be supporting or endorsing incumbents like Rodney Pierce, Carla Cunningham, Shelley Willingham, Amanda Cook, or would you prefer some primary challengers?
We will, it's premature. Let's see how filing shakes out, and then we will have more announcements to come.
Healthcare, obviously a big part of our economy. I had a couple questions on that. One, we could see a ruling today in one of the Medicaid cuts, and I'm just curious, if there's been any sort of movement with the General Assembly there. And then two, kind of unrelated, but people with private insurance, there's been all of these fights between insurance companies, the providers. One right now involving UNC, which obviously is state agency. Is there any desire to have the state weigh in some of those fights, or just change how this works so that people don't constantly face all of that uncertainty?
Yeah. On the first question, I'm dismayed that the General Assembly refuses to do what they know they need to do. They agree that Medicaid doesn't have enough money. They, in fact, agree on how much money that it needs. They agree it's $190 million. Our actuaries show it's more than that. But what I told them was, give us the 190, and then we will see if your economists are right or our actuaries are right. Preliminary data suggests that our actuaries are, in fact, correct, that we need $319 million. But I said, we don't need to solve that today. Just give us the money that you know we need. They were here in session, and they failed to do what they knew they needed to do, which is to fund Medicaid so that people can access health care no matter where they live, particularly dire and rural communities. And instead of doing that core job, they enacted a gerrymander that abuses their power to take away the voters' power. I cannot think of a more crystallized example of wrong-headed priorities than undermining our democracy instead of funding people's health care. But they did that. So we will continue to engage the legislature. I urged them to come back the next month. In fact, I called them back. They refused to come back to do their basic job. So I will keep calling on them to do their job, make sure that our healthcare system continues to work, and understand the consequences of their failure do not fall only on people who have Medicaid for health insurance. If you're in a rural area and there's a healthcare provider that you go to who also serves people on Medicaid, if they're not getting enough money to keep their doors open and they have to shutter, all patients will suffer, not just Medicaid patients, but private payer patients as well. And then your second question on private payers, it is the way the system works. The insurance companies negotiate with the providers on what they're willing to pay to stay in network. There are times, I can imagine a scenario where the consequence is really grave and impacts a very large number of people, but and where the state would need to step in or to urge to knock heads. But these are private parties who need to do what they need to do, but understand that there is a real human consequence to their failure to get the deal done. Over 5,000 now.
Are you satisfied with where those numbers are at as we approach the end of the year, and what's your sort of expectation on that?
Yeah, I think we may be approaching 6,000. 6,200. So people are funny. People need a deadline in order to get something in. So the end of the year is the deadline. The number of applications continue to increase. I'm sure there will be some submitted today. So our hope is that we get over 7,000. We will keep putting the word out. I thank you for asking this question. If you are in Helene and your property, your home was impacted by the storm, you may qualify for assistance. And please go to Renew NC, the website, and apply. It's not an onerous application at all, and you may be eligible for assistance that can help your home get either rebuilt or renovated, whatever is needed to happen based on the damage that you suffered from the storm. We want people living in safe, habitable homes, especially as we come into winter.
A quick follow-up on that, you all were planning out under that same program, multifamily housing and workforce housing. Do you have a timeline in mind yet for when those might come online?
Yes, the multifamily housing applications will be first part of the year, and then workforce will follow. We have to stage these programs because we have limited staff. Yeah. Obviously, there was a lot of thought put into what to ask for and how much to ask for, and the idea was to maximize the return to the state for the benefit of people's health, people who live in rural North Carolina. And so the determination was made that the $1 billion was where we were most likely to get the number to maximize the return for North Carolina. We're hopeful. We know that we have an exceptionally strong program. There's already been a great deal of healthcare innovation in rural North Carolina. It's something that the state has been really forward-looking. We had the first rural healthcare program at State Department of Health and Human Services in the country. We have the second largest rural population in the country. Only Texas has more rural residents than North Carolina. We know that our federal delegation is fully engaged and supportive, and so we're going to push as hard as we can to get every single dollar that we possibly can to put to people's health. Well, appreciate you guys spending the morning with us. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.